I let my roommate think I was clueless. That was the mistake. When I moved into the shared rental, I promised myself one thing. I wouldn't be difficult. I wasn't looking for friendship. I wasn't looking for drama. I just wanted a place where rent was split evenly, the kitchen stayed usable, and nobody pretended common areas were personal storage units. There were 3 of us. Different schedules. Different personalities. Mixed genders. Normal enough. The problems didn't start loudly. They never do. They started with little things. Things you only notice if you're paying attention. Like the utilities bill coming in higher than usual. Or groceries disappearing faster than expected. Or the living room somehow always being occupied, never by me. At first, I assumed it was just shared living chaos. People forget. People miscalculate. People take more than they realize. So I said nothing. One roommate in particular had a way of talking that made everything sound reasonable. Always calm. Always confident. Always with an explanation ready before anyone asked. If a bill was higher, they had a reason. If something went missing, it was probably a misunderstanding. If boundaries were crossed, it was unintentional. They spoke like someone used to being believed. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I adjusted. I paid my share early. I labeled my groceries quietly. I started keeping my things in my room. That's when the tone shifted. They began acting like I was the difficult one. Little comments started slipping out. You're very particular, huh? You should relax more, it's a shared place. I feel like you don't trust people. None of it was said aggressively. That was the clever part. The other roommate heard it too, but only in fragments. Enough to plant doubt. Not enough to look intentional. Then came the guests. At first, it was occasional. Then frequent. Then constant. People I didn't know. People I hadn't agreed to live with. Sleeping on the couch. Using the shower. Eating food that wasn't theirs. When I brought it up gently, the response was immediate and polished. They're basically family. They'll only be here a bit. I didn't think you'd mind. I minded. But again, I didn't argue. Something about the way they responded told me arguing would only make things worse. They weren't careless. They were strategic. The real shift happened the month the rent came up short. Not by much. Just enough to be inconvenient. The group chat message came quickly. Hey, looks like the total didn't add up. Maybe someone miscalculated. No names. No accusations. Just enough ambiguity. I checked my transfer. It was correct. The other roommate confirmed theirs. That left one person. When I asked privately, they replied instantly. Oh wow, really? I sent mine. Let me check. Then silence. An hour later. Ugh. My bank messed up. I'll fix it. They did. Eventually. But something clicked. This wasn't random anymore. From that point on, patterns became obvious once I stopped explaining them away. Utilities rose whenever their guests stayed longer. Groceries disappeared even when labeled. Shared items wore out faster, never for my use. And somehow, every conversation ended with me feeling like I was overreacting. That's when I stopped reacting at all. I didn't confront. I didn't warn. I didn't vent. I started confirming. I photographed bills when they arrived. I saved receipts. I kept screenshots of payments. I wrote dates down, not emotionally, just factually. I noted how many nights guests stayed. I tracked shared expenses quietly. I stopped covering gaps to keep the peace. Peace, I learned, is expensive when only one person pays for it. The breaking moment came on an ordinary evening. I came home to find the living room rearranged. My chair moved. My things stacked in a corner. Without asking. When I mentioned it, calmly, they laughed. It's a shared space. You don't own it. That sentence did it. Not because it was cruel. But because it revealed how they saw everything. Shared space. Shared money. Shared responsibility. Except the benefits always leaned one direction. I nodded. And said nothing. From that point on, I followed the lease exactly. No more flexibility. No more assumptions. No more covering. Every expense went through the official split. Every utility bill was itemized. Every guest overstay was documented according to the lease terms. I didn't announce this change. I just applied it. When rent was due, I paid my portion, only my portion. When utilities spiked, I shared the numbers, without commentary. When guests stayed longer than allowed, I forwarded the lease clause. Calm. Neutral. Unemotional. That's when things started unraveling. Because systems don't care about charm. Late payments became visible. Extra usage became undeniable. Patterns that had been hidden by my silence were now exposed by structure. The landlord noticed first. An email came asking about utility discrepancies. Then another about guest limits. I was copied on everything. I replied once, with numbers attached. No accusations. No commentary. Just data. The landlord replied to everyone. This doesn't align with the lease. That sentence changed the dynamic instantly. Suddenly, I wasn't particular. I was accurate. The roommate who had always explained everything now had nothing to say. The final moment came when the lease renewal discussion began. The landlord asked if all parties wished to continue. I responded quickly. Clear. Professional. The other roommate agreed. There was a delay. Then a message arrived, from the one who had caused all the friction. I think we should talk. We did. For the first time, their confidence was gone. They spoke faster. Explained more. Blamed circumstances. Claimed misunderstandings. I listened. Then I said, I think the current setup isn't working. That was it. No anger. No accusations. No long speech. The landlord didn't renew their portion. They had 2 weeks to move. The house became quieter almost immediately. Bills dropped. The kitchen stayed clean. The air felt lighter. On their last day, they avoided eye contact. I didn't gloat. Didn't explain. Didn't win out loud. Because the win had already happened. They had believed confidence could overpower accountability. That charm could replace fairness. That silence meant ignorance. They were wrong. I wasn't clueless. I was patient. And patience, when paired with documentation, doesn't need revenge. It lets consequences speak for themselves.